Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Crystal with Emerson Aurora Design, and today I'm going to show you how I made this Halloween horror tumbler with UV resin drips. I'm starting out with a 20-ounce straight tumbler from the Stainless Steel Depot, and I'm going to sand it, wash it, and spray paint it this ultra matte. Koala brand water slide sent me this water slide decal paper. This is the clear backed water slide decal paper, and I am going to try this out today. I've been looking for a new water slide brand, and they were kind enough to send this to me for me to try this. I am going big. I am going to do a full wrap, so I found this design on the internet, and I'm going to spray it 4 times with my clear spray. I use my inkjet printer, so you do have to seal your water slide so that the color doesn't fade. I have some lukewarm tap water here in my pan, and I'm going to submerge my decal. I did trim this out so that I am close as I can get because this is a black water slide. I probably needed a little bit bigger of a pan because it is rolling in on itself, but it is what it is. So you just essentially submerge your water slide in the water until the image starts to kind of peel away from the edges. You have to have patience with this. You don't want to attempt to try to do this too early because you want your image to come off fully. I have my little squeegee tool here from the Dollar Tree, and I have my spray painted tumbler. Doing a full wrap can be tricky. For some reason, I just like to try the hardest thing first all the time. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I just want to show you that it is pretty easy to use water slide. Don't get too discouraged. They do tend to roll up on themselves a little bit regardless of the brand. I think it's more of a user error technique issue with myself, but I think a lot of people have that issue. So my water slide's starting to pull away from the backing here, and I did add a little bit of water to my tumbler so that I have a water surface to be able to adjust that water slide as I put this on. Now with this full water slide, sometimes you can go ahead and just slide that water slide right onto the tumbler and it comes off like a dream. That doesn't always work for me with these full water slides, so you just want to be real gentle with the water slide paper. It is very fragile. This water slide paper I'm very happy with, though. It is kind of on the thicker side, so it's easier to work with than others that I've worked with in the past. And I was pleasantly surprised with that. A lot of times the water slide paper that I have used in the past have cracked with a black background. That's why I wanted to go with this Halloween background to really give it a good test run to see if that black would crack or anything like that. And it doesn't at all. I sealed it well, and the ink really stayed and did not crack. So I was really happy with this water slide paper, and I would definitely recommend it to my viewers. So I'm just trying to get that end stuck to this and just kind of get that on there nice and smooth. You'll see me struggle a little bit, but sometimes getting this started is the hardest part. The reason why you want to wet your tumbler down is so that you have some working time with being able to move your image around to get that to lay nice and flat. So now that backing is pretty slick and slimy, and it should slide right off. So as I'm pulling the backing off, I'm going to go ahead and roll the tumbler. And this is where it's good to have it on a PVC handle or your wand for your turner. It just makes your life a lot easier. I'm just trying to line this up so that I get it nice and straight at the top and bottom, and just take your time. I'm doing this in real time so that you can see that you just want to take your time. I'm just rolling the tumbler on itself to let that water slide just lay on there. If you need to adjust it like I am here, just dip your fingers in the water And you can see it's a little bit off center. So I'm kind of rolling it in my water there and just gently trying to line this up. One nice thing with doing this dark water slide, the Halloween one, is if I do have gaps, like I do, I will have gaps here. The water slide I didn't want to pull on it too much. I didn't want to rip it. So the bottom of the tumbler is still white, and there will be a little bit of a seam that is white because the end kind of rolled on itself and I couldn't pull it away from itself. You can see me there trying to fix it. But no worries, this is a black colored background water slide, so I'm going to fix this with my black alcohol ink once this completely dries, and I will fill in any gaps that stays white. And since the water slide is dark and it's a Halloween one, it is perfectly fine to have that black alcohol ink kind of clouding and blending the white so that it matches with the rest of the water slide. And you can see me manipulating this and it isn't ripping. I was very surprised and happy because I have a headache with water slides. I have in the past. I like this brand though, so I would recommend it. I'll leave a link in the description box below to this particular water slide. It is fairly inexpensive, and like I said, I think it's worth the money too. So here I am kind of making a mess of things. You want to try to squeegee out as much of the water as you can. That's why I use the little squeegee. You can also use a wet paper towel to squeegee out any water that's underneath the water slide, because you want this to completely dry before you move on to putting any coats of resin on this tumbler. If any water is left, it won't allow your epoxy to cure correctly and it will leave a milky haze, and you don't want that. So I'm just using my little squeegee tool and going from the center out to each end to try to get the water completely out and let that water slide adhere correctly and get out any wrinkles. And like I said, I am going to fix that seam and the bottom of the tumbler using alcohol ink later. I did lose the footage of myself doing that. However, I am very sorry. You can watch my video of the Rock and Roll Girl cassette tape one that I have. I will link that at the end, and it will show how I use alcohol ink to cover up any white seams. So I'm going to stop fidgeting with this. I'm just going to blot the rest of it, all the water off here, and just gently blot it off with some paper towel, and I'm going to let this dry completely. So my tumbler was completely dry before I epoxied this. I did put 2 layers of epoxy over this, and I did mix in just a little smidge of ultrafine glitter to give it a little bit of sparkle. And this is the main point of my video here. I want to show you how I do drips using my UV resin. I have this beautiful red chunky mix, cherry red chunky mix on glitter. It doesn't have a name. It's from a supplier that I purchased from overseas, and I'm going to just mix this into my UV resin. This UV resin is from Let's Resin. I really love this UV resin. It cures really hard and it doesn't have much of a smell, and I really like it. I will leave a link to their product in the description box below. I wanted a little bit more fine glitter mixed in so that I have a good coverage with my glitter drip. So I'm just kind of alternating these 2 glitters. You kind of want a thicker consistency, so I did add quite a bit of glitter. I want a lot of bling in my drip here. So using UV resin, I do recommend getting a UV lamp. I purchased the one here you see to the right. It's a UV nail lamp I purchased on Amazon. I will leave a link to that in the description box below. It's fairly inexpensive and it's larger, so it covers a larger area on the tumbler. It just makes your life easier. So I'm going to do this just like a regular drip tumbler, but I'm going to do this in sections. Since this UV resin is a little bit thinner, it's on the thinner side until it starts to cure, I'm going to hold my tumbler horizontally and put my drip on, and then when I'm ready for it to start dripping, I'm going to tip it up. But first I'm going to pop some bubbles using just a regular flame, and I'm just gently tapping that to get a drip effect. This will drip down really fast, so you kind of want to work quickly and smart. When you get the drip exactly where you want it, hurry up and get your UV lamp, and you're going to put it up to there, up to the tumbler, and it will stop the dripping. And like I said, do this in sections, cure it in between, because if you don't, you will have drips all the way down the tumbler because this is very thin. And there you go. It has stopped dripping. It's not completely cured yet. I will go back in and cure that more once I'm finished. UV resin does get bubbles, so you want to make sure that I just use my flame. I don't use my torch for this. I just use my little lighter flame, and it works well. And you can see it's starting to work nicely. I will do 2 rows of the drip because it kind of pulls away from the top of the tumbler. When you're doing your longer drips, let it go down, and it's okay if you have a gap at the top. You go back in later and do a second layer of drip to fill in that top. Unless you like it, that's fine too. This is sped up just a little bit, but it really doesn't take long, and it's such a fun process. It's just an alternative to doing regular resin drips. I love the look of resin drips, however, I do not have much patience to wait around for that to get thick. So here's a different angle so you can kind of see it more straight on to what I'm doing. It's not the greatest angle, but I wanted to give you a little bit better of a look, a little closer of a look here. You can see it's dripping down. You can add a little extra epoxy, or not epoxy, UV resin there to make the drip go down a little further, and then we stop it with the UV resin. Immediate gratification, that's all what I'm all about. Once I have all my drips on, I will cure this more. I probably cure it for an extra 5 minutes while I'm turning the tumbler to get that UV resin really set and get it to harden up really well. I love the glitter drip look of this tumbler. It just adds some extra bling that I love. And there it is, all set. I'm going to go in and do my second layer towards the top. And the second layer, I'm going to make the mixture a little bit thicker so it doesn't drip down, because I want it to kind of sit at the top rim a little better. So you can see my mixture is a lot thicker. And I'm just filling in that top because I want it to be completely covered with the red glitter. And I'm just going to manipulate it around with my popsicle stick and not really even drip it down, to be honest. Sorry for all the banging. I'm in my basement studio and I have a bunch of people upstairs running around. So just like before, I'm working in sections and curing in between. I'm just kind of keeping my tumbler more at a horizontal angle to fill in that top area. It gives it a double layer look, just more interest. And that sparkle is so pretty. You could see it under that lamp. Now I am going to epoxy over this drip with my regular art KS Art Resin epoxy. So it will fill in any bubbles or bumps that may be in this drip, because UV resin doesn't cure as smoothly sometimes when it has glitter in it as regular epoxy resin, especially since I made this one so thick and chunky. But I wanted to seal it in with my artist resin because I want that to have the UV protectant on it, and it'll have a nice finish at the end. Once this is completely cured, before I go in with my epoxy resin, I will take a blade tool and trim off any excess that may have gotten onto the rim of the tumbler and lightly sand it so that I have a nice smooth edge before I go in with my epoxy resin, because some of that glitter may stick up and you don't want that to stick up and cause any issues. And here is the drip all finished. Like I said, I will go in with 2 more layers of epoxy over this drip and my tumbler will be all finished. And here he is. Shiny and beautiful and horrific and gorgeous, ready for Halloween. I love that drip. I love the glitter. And this clear water slide from Koala, I really enjoyed working with it. It worked really well, and I do recommend it. Check them out. I'll leave their information in the link below. I hope you guys enjoyed watching my video. I love making Halloween tumblers. I have more to come soon. Give this a try. There's Pennywise, one of my favorites. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy spooky season, and have a beautiful day. Happy crafting, everyone. Until next time. Thank you for watching.